Hello and welcome back to the channel on our continuing voyage to become better blues players. My name's Mark, and in this lesson we're going to look at everything we need to know as a blues player about ninth chords, because ninth chords are probably the blues player's favourite type of chord. So why is that? Well, actually anytime we see we're playing a 12-bar blues and we see a major chord or a dominant 7th chord, a 7 chord in other words, we can actually just substitute it with the 9th chord and it sounds fantastic. It sounds richer, fuller, and all of those kind of things. So the first thing to take away with this is we're going to be playing mainly in the key of C. So if we're looking at a 12-bar blues in the key of C, we can either have the chords of C, F and G, or maybe C7, F7 and G. We can actually use a 9th chord in place of any of those, and that gives us more options and sounds richer. So what is a 9th chord? Well, I'm going to show you the basic shape that we all start with, and it's this one here. So this is a C9. So if we think of a C7 like this, a C9 just sounds a little bit fuller and mellower and bluesier and nicer. Okay, so that's the first takeaway from this. We can use that shape, that's a C9, we can use that anytime we see a C7 or C major chord in our 12-bar blues chord progression, and we can just move that up and down the fretboard. So here's an E, here's a D, D9, here's an F9, here's a G9, and it's great because we just take this one shape and move it all around. Okay, so that's it. That's our first takeaway from this lesson. Anytime we're playing a 12-bar blues which has 7th chords or major chords, you can just substitute in that 9th chord and it'll sound richer, fuller and nicer, gives you more options. And you don't need to worry about what the band's doing. They don't need to be playing the 9th chord or not. You can do it and it just sounds fantastic. Okay, so that is that's the basic shape of the 9th chord that we all know and love. We can find it very easy because this note here, that's the root of the chord. So this is a C9 because that's a note of C, 3rd fret of the A string. And that's an F because that's the 8th fret of the A string, and that's an F note. And G would be 10th fret of the A string. There's a G note, so this makes this a G9 chord. Okay, so that's the first takeaway. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a 12-bar blues in C, just using 9th chords, that one, so you can hear how it sounds. Okay, so there it is, with no embellishments, just playing those 9th chords, and that's what it sounds like. It's really good. But one of the beauties of a 9th chord is it's such a nice shape, we can do some kind of embellishments with it and basically slide it around. The rule is basically that just like we just played there, anytime when we land on the beat at the start of a new bar, we want to land that 9th chord. So at the start of the bar of C, we want to land that C. But we can approach it from immediately before that, from either a fret below or a fret above. I'm making this sound harder than it is. Here's what it sounds like in context. So same chord progression, but I'm just going to be sliding into those chords from either below or above. And it should sound like this. Okay, so that sounds like really cool. I'm using this, that sounds really nice over kind of slow blues, as you can hear. And all I'm doing is, I'm playing the same chords, but I'm just immediately preceding it by sliding in either from the fret below or the fret above. I'm just keeping the same shape, so it's just moving the same shape around. And that's why that ninth chord is really nice, because it kind of slides around so nice and easy. Now, the only thing with that is, when we're doing all those kind of slidey embellishments, that works really great over a backing track that I'm playing over, where you've just got bass and drums. The minute we start adding other instruments and other guitar players and keyboard players and those kind of things in there as well, it can sound a bit messy. And if you're doing all those slippy slidey things and the rest of the band are just playing it straight, you can maybe sound like you're clashing and different things. So I'd be wary of that. But over just a simple backing track with just bass and drums, it sounds fantastic. And what it can really do then is, when you've got just that stripped down sound, adding those slides in just kind of embellishes that rhythm part and makes it a bit more lively and a bit more interesting. Okay, so that's kind of the first level of playing. The first level of playing the chords is just knowing the chords and moving up and down. The second level is then being able to kind of slide in and out of them. What we'll do now is I'll show you an alternative fingering for a 9 chord, which I use an awful lot. So it's this one here. So we're going to be starting on the 7th fret of the A string, 8th fret of the D string, 7th fret of the G string, 8th fret of the B string, and it sounds like this. Now, the interesting point with this is that I'm not actually playing a C in it. None of those notes are a C. What have we got there? We've got an E, we've got a B flat, we've got a D, and we've got a G. So there isn't actually a C note in any of them. And if we were just playing that chord by itself, we probably recognise that as an E minor 7 flat 5. When we play this in context, as long as somebody else in the band is holding down the low C, so for example, the bass player or the keyboard player or another guitar player or something, it will sound like a C9 chord. Because what we're really doing is we're playing this chord here, but we're imagining that somebody else is playing this note here. Okay, that would be 8th fret of the low E string. If I play all of those together, let's see if I can do it like this way. That's the full chord, but obviously it's actually quite difficult to play it like that. As you can see, I'm struggling. But if somebody else was playing that note there, the 8th fret, then that's the low C, then we get a full C chord. We can ignore that as long as somebody else in the band is doing it, and we can just use this shape. Now this is, again, a really good shape for sliding in. And you can do all of those things. Now, I like that one. The reason I use that one quite a lot is when we just use this as a C9 here, when we're blowing C to F to G, we're kind of jumping all around the fretboard, running up and down. The beauty of using this shape is that we kind of keep it all together. So we're just playing all those chords just around, where are we? Between the kind of the 7th and 10th fret, that kind of space. So I'll leave you now with the diagrams of the chords that we've looked at in this lesson. Next lesson we'll continue on this and we'll look at the major 9th and the minor 9th, as well as some other cool stuff to do at 9th chords. If you'd like to be notified of that lesson, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters and those who leave a tip in my PayPal tip jar. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Until next time, I'll see you again.